The phone rang past midnight. At first, I thought it was just another spam call, the kind that wakes you up at the worst possible moment. But when I turned my head toward the glowing screen, my heart nearly stopped. The name on the display wasn't random. It was Mark, my best friend since childhood. Mark never called me this late. In fact, he knew I hated late-night calls. For him to break that rule, something had to be wrong. I answered quickly, my voice rough with sleep. "Mark? What's going on?" On the other end, I didn't hear his usual confident tone. Instead, there was silence, then, a shaky breath. Finally, he whispered, "Bro, I need to tell you something. But you're not going to like it." I sat up in bed, instantly awake, my pulse thundering in my ears. "What do you mean? What happened?" Another pause. I could almost hear him fighting with himself, deciding whether to say it or not. Then he dropped the words that would change everything. "It's about your girlfriend. I saw her tonight, with someone else." The words hit me like a blade. I felt the air rush out of my lungs, as if the world itself had stopped. For a second, I didn't believe him. I refused to. I forced out a laugh, bitter and hollow. "You're lying. That's not funny, Mark." His voice cracked. I wish I was lying. I swear, I didn't want to tell you, but I couldn't keep it to myself. I saw her. At the cafe on 7th Street. She wasn't alone. She was, holding his hand. And it wasn't just that. They kissed, man. I saw it with my own eyes. My throat tightened, my grip on the phone shaking. "No," I whispered, shaking my head even though he couldn't see me. "She would never do that. Not her. Not to me." But Mark's silence was louder than any words. If he had been joking, if it was some sick prank, he would have said so by now. But he didn't. I dropped the phone onto the sheets, staring at the ceiling in shock. My chest felt like it was caving in. My girlfriend, the girl I thought I knew better than anyone, the girl I planned a future with, was with someone else. My thoughts spun violently, grasping for excuses. Maybe Mark was mistaken. Maybe it was someone who just looked like her. Maybe she was meeting a friend, and Mark misunderstood. But deep down, beneath all the denial, I already knew the truth. That gnawing, sick feeling in my stomach wasn't new. I had ignored the late-night texts she never explained, the time she came home later than usual, the way she had been pulling away from me lately. I had pushed all of it aside, convincing myself it was nothing. Now I couldn't hide from it anymore. The woman I loved, the one I trusted most, was betraying me. And if Mark was right, then everything I believed in our relationship, our future, the love I thought we shared, was already gone. I couldn't sleep. After Mark's call, I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying his words over and over again in my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined her at that cafe, laughing, holding someone else's hand, leaning in for a kiss that wasn't mine. I wanted to believe there was some mistake. That maybe Mark had seen wrong. Maybe it was someone who just looked like her. But the more I tried to convince myself, the more the truth pressed against my chest like a weight I couldn't escape. I tossed the blanket aside and sat up, running my hands through my hair. My phone was still lying there, the screen dark. I picked it up, staring at her name and my contacts. My thumb hovered over the call button, but I couldn't press it. What would I even say? "Hey, are you cheating on me?" If she was, she'd deny it. And if she wasn't, then why did it already feel like I knew the answer? The minutes dragged into hours. At some point, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my jacket and walked out into the night. The streets were almost empty, the air heavy with silence, but inside me everything was loud. My heartbeat, my thoughts, my anger, my legs carried me without direction until I ended up at the cafe Mark had mentioned. Even though it was closed now, I stood across the street, staring at the building as if it could give me the answers I needed. I imagined them sitting by the window, smiling at each other, hands touching across the table, and the more I pictured it, the more my stomach churned. I pulled out my phone again, and before I could stop myself, I opened our chat. Scrolling through the old messages felt like watching a ghost of something that once was real. Her heart emojis, the late night I miss you texts, the silly selfies she used to send me. All of it felt fake now, like I was reading lies that had been carefully crafted to keep me blind. Finally I typed a message, just one word, "Where are you?" Seconds felt like hours before she replied, "At home, just tired." Why? The lie was instant, smooth, and it burned worse than the truth. My chest tightened, my teeth clenched. She wasn't even trying to cover it up anymore. She was lying to my face without hesitation. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but no words came. Instead, I shoved the phone back into my pocket and started walking again, this time toward her apartment. By the time I got there, my hands were trembling. The lights inside were off, as if she were asleep, innocent and unbothered, while I was outside drowning in suspicion and rage. I stood there for a long time, staring at the window, debating whether to knock, to call her out, to end it right there. But in the end, I didn't. I turned away and walked back into the night. Not because I was weak, but because I knew this wasn't how it should end. I needed the truth, undeniable and raw, and I needed to hear it from her own lips. And deep down, I feared that when I did, it would destroy me completely. The next morning felt unreal. I hadn't slept at all. My body was exhausted, but my mind was running on pure adrenaline, replaying every memory, every word, every smile that now seemed tainted. When I finally dragged myself out of bed, I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't just sit in the dark, wondering, doubting. I needed answers, even if those answers ripped me apart. I took a shower, but the water did nothing to wash away the heaviness pressing against me. I looked at myself in the mirror afterward, and I almost didn't recognize the reflection staring back. Red eyes, pale face, clenched jaw, I looked like someone who had lost everything already. By noon, I was standing outside her apartment building. My hands were cold, not from the weather but from the storm raging inside me. I stared at the door for what felt like forever before finally pressing the buzzer. Her voice came through the intercom, soft and familiar. "Hello?" For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then I forced the words out. "It's me." There was a pause, then the click of the door unlocking. I stepped inside, my heart hammering against my ribs. When she opened the door to her place, she looked the same as always, hair a little messy, wearing one of my old hoodies, smiling faintly as if nothing was wrong. "Hey, babe," she said, leaning in for a hug. I didn't move. Her smile faltered when she saw my expression. "What's wrong?" I walked past her into the apartment, my eyes scanning the room as if I expected to find evidence scattered on the floor. Finally, I turned to face her. "Where were you last night?" Her brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I told you I was at home." "Why?" The lie rolled off her tongue so easily it made me sick. My fists tightened at my sides. "Don't do that. Don't lie to me." She crossed her arms defensively. "I'm not lying. Why are you acting like this?" I took a deep breath, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Mark called me." Her eyes widened for just a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. Then she laughed nervously. "Mark? What does he have to do with this?" "He saw you," I said, my voice sharp, louder now. "At the cafe. With someone else. He saw you holding his hand. He saw you kiss him." The color drained from her face. Her lips parted, but no words came out. That silence told me more than any confession could. I felt something inside me shatter, but I pressed on. "How long?" My voice cracked. "How long has this been going on?" She shook her head quickly, tears welling in her eyes. "It's not what you think." "Don't," I cut her off, my voice breaking. "Don't insult me with excuses. Just tell me the truth." Her tears finally fell. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen." The words sliced through me. A mistake. That was her explanation for betraying everything we had built together. I turned away, my chest heaving, trying to hold myself together. But in that moment, I realized something terrifying. The truth wasn't just about betrayal. It was about the fact that the person I trusted most in the world had been lying to my face, and part of me still wanted to believe her. And that was the most painful part of all. The silence between us was suffocating. She stood there, tears streaming down her face, while I tried to keep myself from collapsing. My hands trembled, my breathing uneven, but I forced myself to speak. "Who is he?" My voice was low, almost a growl. "Tell me his name." She shook her head, her lips trembling. "Please, it doesn't matter. It was a mistake. I love you, not him. I swear." But her words meant nothing now. They were empty, fragile, useless. I needed the truth. And then, as if the universe itself wanted to torture me, there was a knock on the door. She froze. My stomach dropped. Slowly, I turned my head toward the sound. Another knock, louder this time. She whispered, panicked, Don't open it." But it was too late. I was already moving. My feet carried me to the door, my chest tightening with every step. I yanked it open. And there he was. I knew his face instantly. My brother. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My mind refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. Out of all the possibilities, out of all the nightmares I had imagined, I never thought it would be him. He looked just as shocked to see me. His mouth opened, but no words came out. His guilt was written all over him, his eyes avoiding mine, his posture stiff, the way his hands curled into fists as if bracing for the impact. Behind me, she gasped, her voice breaking. "Please, don't do this here." But I wasn't listening. My vision blurred, red with rage. I grabbed him by the collar, slamming him against the wall. "How could you?" My voice thundered through the hallway. "You're my brother." He didn't fight back. He didn't even raise his hands. He just stood there, letting me hold him, his face twisted with shame. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen." The same words she had said. The same pathetic excuse. My grip tightened, my knuckles white. For a moment, I wanted to hit him, to unleash every ounce of pain boiling inside me. But my arm froze mid-air. This was my brother. The person I had grown up with, laughed with, trusted more than anyone else in the world. And now he had destroyed me. I let him go, shoving him back against the wall. My whole body shook, my chest heaving as if I couldn't get enough air. She was crying harder now, her hands covering her face. He stood there, silent, unable to meet my eyes. The room felt smaller and smaller, as if the walls were closing in. I couldn't take it anymore. I stumbled back toward the door, my vision spinning, my heart tearing itself apart inside my chest. Without another word, I walked out. The door slammed behind me, but the echoes followed me down the hallway, down the stairs, out into the cold night. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly, utterly alone. The city lights blurred around me as I walked with no destination. My chest felt hollow, my steps heavy, as if every ounce of strength had been drained from me. The people I trusted most, the two closest to my heart, had torn everything apart. I ended up by the river, staring at the dark water as it rippled under the pale glow of the moon. My reflection looked like a stranger, eyes empty, shoulders hunched, a man broken in half. I replayed it all in my head, the late-night texts I ignored, the excuses I believed, the way my brother had seemed distant lately. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. The phone buzzed in my pocket. Her name lit up the screen. I let it ring until it stopped. A few seconds later, another call, this time from him. I turned the phone off and threw it beside me on the bench. For a long time, I just sat there, listening to the quiet rush of the river. I thought about everything we had built together, every plan, every promise. I thought about the boy I used to be, the one who trusted blindly, who believed love was enough. That boy was gone now. But as the night stretched on, a different thought crept in. Maybe this was the end of one chapter, but not the end of me. They had betrayed me, yes. They had broken me. But I was still here. Breathing. Alive. I stood, shoving my hands into my pockets, the cold air burning my lungs. One step forward, then another. Each one felt a little lighter, a little less heavy. I didn't know where I was going, or what would come next. All I knew was that I couldn't go back, not to her, not to him, not to the life I thought I had. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something new.